Welcome back to Podium Esports coverage of Round 7 of Series 5 of PCA Sim Racing from Suzuka circuits in Japan. James Pike, Taylor Burris here to bring you coverage of our second race of the evening from the sport class, which is presented by Leland West. Rest in charge. Time to roll through the starting grid where Jensen Benet on pole, one of the fastest drivers in this particular class, and set down a very quick time at that. He came through and nailed it with a 2:10.654 to take top spot over Earl Arts Jr. Michael Masters begins tonight from the third position. Fourth on the grid is Julian Valdez. Gregory Sampson starts from fifth. Sixth will be Sebastiano Badastrieri. Randall Ayer starts seventh. Chris Duffy, Lonnery Sarumi, and Mo Donka complete your top 10.
Starting in 11th position will be Bob Moore, followed by Oregon Gerloff in 12th position. Ken Eskridge will start in the 13th position, followed by George Markadakis in 14th. Arnie Clayson will be starting in the 15th position, followed by Peter Yurtsa in 16th. Paul Sok will be starting in the 17th position, followed by Jeff Williams in 18th. Ryan Granger rounds out your top 20.
21st on the grid is Theodosis Neokli. Al Sadouk starts 22nd. 23rd is Ryan McGee, and 24th tonight is Donald Binkley. In the 25th spot is Antonio da Silva. Stuart Nelson starts 26th. 27th is Kurt Clifford. Brandon Judot starts 28th. 29th on the grid is Carl Bocchieri, while Cahill starts from 30th.
31st will be David Centel, followed by Rusty Bruden in 32nd. Nicholas Kalani will be starting in the 33rd position, followed by Robert Walton in 34th. Chip Witt will be starting in the 35th position, followed by James Bernard, the last car to take a time, in 36th. 37th will go to Andreas Castella, followed by Sam Yao in 38th. 39th, Will Mungui.
That completes your grid for this sport class race presented by Leland West. As we turn our attention to the track facts, Suzuka circuit is where we are in the Mie Prefecture of Japan, not terribly far away from Osaka. This track is the full Grand Prix layout, 3.609 miles, 5.807 kilometers in length, 18 turns. We raced for 40 minutes around sunrise, the default day for iRacing, May 15th, 2020, just around 6:15 a.m. local time. Temps are the same as they were in our first race. Will be consistent throughout the evening. 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Air temp 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temp winds to the south at 7 miles an hour, and humidity of 71%. A big thank you to our friends at VRS and at Leland West for their partnership and presentation of the sport class this evening, as Jensen Benet will lead us to the green. Earl Arts Jr., your points leader still, but not by much. It is a 12-point lead he carries on Benet coming into the evening as we take off, and Arts did not get the greatest of jumps. Instead, Julian Valege got a really good one. They might be a 3 wide going off into turn 1 for the first time, but it's Benet who gets that great jump ahead of Arts, and Velez is going to have to fight it out with Sebastiano Badastrieri and Gregory Sampson and Michael Masters and company to figure out who wants third.
Everyone just scrambling for positions here on lap 1 as they climb up through Snake, up through the S as they will go. Now starting to get single file, trying to get into a rhythm, get settled in after 1 lap here at Suzuka. So far, no side-by-side battles as they come up to the anti-bank curve and the Dunlop curve, but still it is going to be Jensen Benet, Earl Arts Jr., your top 2.
Benet, Arts, Velez, Badastrieri, Masters, Duffy, Sampson, Ayers. 1 car around though. Sampson got some help, I think, coming out of the S's, and got some help in the form of his own gas pedal. He looped himself around, but Sampson loses the spot and trouble there.
Michael Masters also in trouble. He overshot the first Degner corner and ends up in the gravel trap. He is going to drop all the way back to the field as he has to wait to let these cars go by all the way back to, let's just say the last car out there, 37th, as Gregory Sampson has not been able to catch up to Michael Masters. So 37th is where he will drop to, and a long hill for him to climb up to.
Cars around over in the hairpin 2. Lonray Sarumi in trouble. I see he's trying to figure out how to get out of all this. And end up stuck in the middle of everything. We'll see what happened with Surumi there, but looks like there was contact with Ogun Garal. They bounced off each other, and both drivers end up going around. So a little bit issues towards the back of the field. Garal was able to get going, but Surumi all the way back in 38, nothing he could have done. Finally gets around, but not before he loses all that track position as Benet and Arts take off and lead this to green in what could be the best points battle of any of the four classes coming to the end of Series 7. Both drivers with significant and heavy drops, and Benet still your leader here. But if Arch has another race like he had last week at Watkins Glen, this immediately flips into Benet's hands, who has been consistent and solid, save for the incident at Barber Motorsports Park, where he has won every race outside of that and the season opener at Laguna Seca, but still is in second in points because Earl Orange Jr. has racked up 4 second-place finishes in Series 5 today.
Yeah, so what we need to see happen for Jensen is he needs to win this race in order to have a shot at winning the title next week at Daytona. It's going to be a tight points battle to the bitter end here as they work their way up through the track here. Watching to see what Earl Arts Jr. can do. Can he have anything for the dominating performance of Jensen Benet, who had about, I would say, about a 1.2 second lead over the 61. As Dean Chapman has been black flagged for an orange cone violation.
Here's the wild thing about this points battle, Taylor. If Jensen and Earl finish 1-2 over the next 2 races, they will finish the season level on points, at which point the tiebreaker, I believe, would go to most wins, which would then give the edge to Benet. But there's the very real chance that we see them with the same number of points at the end of the season. And likewise, a very real chance that Jensen Benet might have to go out and win both of these races outright. You think of, in particular, the Tony Stewart-Carl Edwards Championship battle in 2011 immediately comes to mind, and the way that panned out towards the end. But just wild, wild, wild thought to think that Benet might win both races, and even then, that might be the only thing that guarantees him a shot at this.
It certainly can be, and it's going to be so critical for drivers such as Jensen Benet to make sure he wins these next 2 races in order to keep Earl Arts Jr. at having a shot of winning this championship. Now, for Earl Arts Jr., he needs to probably have a shot of winning this race as well as the next race at Daytona to be crowned champion. So we'll have to wait and see what will happen for these 2 drivers as they work their way through out of the last curve and down the front straightaway to complete lap number 2 here, and it's still going to be a tight battle to the bitter end.
Benet was faster by a tenth. Dead even just about. Julian Velez ran a 2:12.9 compared to the 2:11.1 and 2:11.2 that Benet and Arts ran. So the front 2 are most definitely in their own code and their own place. And then really good battle for third between Julian Velez and Sebastiano Balestrieri. And don't forget Rubber Duffy, Chris Duffy, in there too.
Who could forget Chris Duffy as he is going side by side with Sebastiano Balestrieri up through the snake now to the anti-bank curve. They're going to try to make it work and get through there nice and cleanly as we see Duffy look to the inside but can't quite make it work as they come up the Dunlop curve and now head their way over to Degner 1.
Negder 1 and 2. There goes Duffy to the inside of Balestrieri, and Chris Duffy now into that 4th spot. Balestrieri back to 5th. Ayers now in 6th, and Modadka in 7th, and Dodka, one of the Team Haggerty drivers, but not terribly far behind this group. Ayers is only about a second back from Balestrieri, and Duffy will try and gap the 5:16 and work his way up towards Velez, who is not more than maybe a car length or 2 ahead of that 924 machine.
He's doing a great job. Duffy is utilizing the slipstream to help pull him down the straightaway here as they head to Spoon Curve. And he will take a peek to the inside, but not close enough to get into the inside of Julian Velez. But now he does. He takes a peek as they come out of the second apex of Spoon Curve. But we see Velez shuts the arm as they track out down the back straightaway, heading up to the 130R. Duffy looks to the inside, but then gets back into the slipstream as they follow suit down the long back straightaway. He peeks to the outside, now peeks to the inside. He's going to try to make the pass through the 130R. A difficult chance, but now we see he backs off and lets Velez take position.
He backs off, and that killed his chance to make a run at the chicane, which is where I think he probably would have tried and lined that up. He tried to go to the inside of the hairpin and gave up so much checking up to make sure he'd make the corner that he gave up his opportunity to make the pass in the chicane. So now he'll have to regroup and try and pull this off down in that turn 2 complex at the bottom of the hill.
As they come down the front straightaway, once again, Velez doing a great job of holding off Chris Duffy. They're now heading up to the first curve once again, and we see the battle continues to rage on. Velez is able to gain a little bit of a gap now from Chris Duffy as they come out of there, but Duffy with a great run out of turn 1.
Duffy had a good run, but Velez did as well as they climb up the hill through the S's. Some of the most famous S's in all of motorsport here at Suzuka, as Duffy right on the edge just about had his car sideways, but a decent job gaining through these corners. He's got the speed on Velez, who shuts the door in front of Rubber Duffy and just about turned himself across the nose, but not before he was able to gap Duffy by maybe a car length or 2. So now you watch the hairpin, you watch spoon, you watch chicane. I think those are the 3 spots where you're going to see Duffy make a run for it. I think he has the pace on Velez, and he was faster by 0.7 of a second that last lap by. So it's just a matter of finding the right place to pull this pass off, which, as we saw over in 130R on that last lap, is easier said than done.
It certainly is. We're now watching that as Chris Duffy has lost a little bit of ground to Julian Velez as they go down this straightaway here, the 220, and make the run up to Spoon. Velez has about a 3-car length advantage over Chris Duffy as they hit the braking zone of Spoon Curve. We now see him gain a ton of ground, actually drop it to about a car length between him and Velez as they come out of the second apex, trying to see if he can get the power down quicker enough compared to Velez. He gets a little loose, but is still able to keep pace with Velez as they come out of Spoon down the back straightaway.
So now again, here comes that run up the hill towards 130R, and the question becomes whether or not Duffy forces the same thing or whether or not he's going to sit in line behind Velez and see if he can make the move in the chicane. And this time he's going to stay behind the 33 machine, which will give him the opportunity to late break into the chicane if he thinks he can make it, which is exactly what he does. That's a beautiful move from Chris Duffy. He pulled out at the very last moment, and Velez had no opportunity to defend that inside, and Chris Duffy with a very nice pass into P3.
A very clean, nice pass, very unexpected, but a great pass indeed for Chris Duffy as he moves up to P3 and now starts to pull a little bit of a gap over the 33 of Julian Velez as they enter into the first curve.
Very solid work there from Chris Duffy to get that 3rd spot, and immediately you see the lap times pick up. Although, how about Jensen Benet with a 2:10.706? That's only a 10th off of his qualifying time. Jensen Benet is flying around Suzuka at this point.
He certainly is. I mean, Benet just dropped a 2:10.706, almost 2 seconds faster than Earl Arts Jr. I mean, a phenomenal lap, actually, especially on lap number 4, and phenomenal run right now and pace for the 718 of Jensen Benet.
So Benet stretched this out. Best battle on track. You saw it on screen just a little bit ago. Randall Ayers and Mo Dobka in 6th and 7th. Those two separated by maybe 3 or 4 car lengths at best, but not much to worry about here. And then you've got Velez, Palestrieri also ahead of this bunch, and then Chris Duffy. But Ayers and Dodka now the closest out of this group as they ride in 6th and 7th, and then it's about 9 seconds back to George Markadakis, and a really good bunch here. Bob Moore, Ken Eskridge, Peter Yerksha, Ogunga Rao, Arnie Klassen, Antonio da Silva, Jeff Williams. You can even chuck in Al Sadou loosely into that group, and that's 8th all the way back to 16th within maybe, call it 5-6 seconds tops.
Give or take, or few, but it's a great battle for all these drivers here, and they're putting up a great fight. They know that the season's about to come to a close, and they're wanting to try to get as many points as they can before the season ends. I mean, look at a driver such as George Markadakis. He currently sits in 12th. Sebastiano Ballestieri, who's running inside the top 5, sitting in 11th. They want to try to see if they can capitalize and come out with a strong finish. And I know another driver who's wanting to come out with a strong finish is Mr. Rubber Duffy, who sits P3 overall and P3 in the point standings. He wants to see if he can get into the mix of this points battle between Earl Arts Jr. and Jensen Benet.
He's going to need more speed, though. He was a second slower than Benet and Arts that last lap by. So quickest out of everybody else. But again, out of everybody else, I think is the key phrase on that. As Markadakis leads the bunch behind Danka and we shall check and see where everyone else is after. Remind you all that tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing is brought to you by Virtual Racing School. For more information on how you can become a faster driver, head over to virtualracingschool.com. Proud supplier of setups for those who need them in all classes of PCA Sim Racing Series 5. Markadakis, Moore, Eskridge, Yerkes, Garout, Klassen. It is amazing to see how tight this bunch is. That, to me, is the wildest thing. You don't see bunches like this at Suzuka, which traditionally spreads drivers out very quickly with all the turns, the braking zones, but we've not seen it yet as Markadakis continues to pace this group, but is not all that much faster or slower than everybody else around it.
No, all these drivers are putting up a great show here in the sportsman class as they work their way through. I'm watching that battle with Organ Gerlach, Peter Yerkes, Ken Eskridge. I mean, Bob Moore in this battle, who's in the side of the top 10. As they come out of the hairpin, these four drivers, if you count George Markadakis, are putting on one heck of a battle as they come through this 220R and make the run towards Spoon. I mean, anyone has a shot at getting a top 10 here tonight now with how tight the competition is.
And likewise, one mistake will immediately punt you out of the top 10. That, I think, is the other thing to note in all of this. We look through the field just to keep an eye on some of the other good battles. Good group here in 21st, too. Ryan McGee, Michael Masters, Ronald Cahill, and Paul Solk. And then Nicholas Kilnani and Stuart Nelson, another one of the Team Haggerty drivers, also tied up there with Rusty Pruden, James Bernard, Robert Walton, and company. But all eyes on Markadakis and maybe, how about Moore and Eskridge? Because Moore did not get the greatest run through 130R, and Eskridge now might be in a place to take over that spot.
He's going to try, but he's got to worry about Peter Yerkes right behind him as they come out of the last curve. Down the front straightaway they'll go. Peter able to not be able to make the pass work for him to get around Ken Eskridge to make the top 10. But Ken is starting to pull a little bit of a gap, and here comes Peter Yerkes to the inside. They'll go side by side as they head to the first curve, as Peter will then make the pass complete and move into the top 10 to set his sights on Bob Moore.
That's the easiest way to make a pass at Suzuka. Get a run coming out of the chicane, down the long front straightaway, and just drag race the other car into turn one, get to the inside, make that easy, as Yerkes just did. And you can slide the number 54 up into the top 10 for the first time this evening, as Eskridge may lose another spot to Orgun Garout.
He definitely could have a possibility as they climb up to the Dunlop curve. Here comes Gerlach with another good run out of there. He'll take a peek as he looks to the inside, but can't get close enough yet. Let's see what he can do as they approach Degner 1. He'll take another peek to the inside, but send slot back in behind Ken Eskridge in 11th. Now approaching Degner 2. They'll then dive to the apex. I think he's going to lose a little bit of ground that time around as he misses the apex just a little bit as they go down towards the hairpin.
They continue around the hairpin. Ken Eskridge and Yerkes there fighting last lap. This lap, it's Eskridge and Garout as the 18 continues to slide back, although he actually was faster than Garout by about a tenth that last time by everybody in the 213 ballpark. The 212s are all property of the top 5, where Chris Duffy is slid back behind Sebastiano Banastrieri and Julian Velez, and then Earl Arts, who is about 2 seconds back of Jensen Benet, your race leader, with 25 minutes left to go in the second race of the evening.
Yeah, still great battles all throughout the track here. Let's actually go take a check in on that battle for third. Julian Velez was able, like you said, was able to get around Chris Duffy, and Sebastiano Balassieri was able to get around Chris Duffy, but they're still battling it out for that final step of the podium as they come down the front straightaway here. It's now separated by about 3 or 4 car lengths between each car for each position as they head towards the first curve. Julian Velez, a great strong run for him tonight as he comes out of the first curve and climbs up through Snake.
Velez, Banastrieri, and Duffy, then Ayers, then Donka, then Markadakis, then Moore, Yerkes, Eskridge, Garout. And then Arne Klassen slid back a little bit as Banastrieri got loose, just about opened the door for Duffy, but he was able to shut it at the last moment. And Duffy's got this thing sideways. I don't know if there's another driver who is going to get into Balistrieri and spin him out, and Duffy's going to spin out as well. So both drivers sideways, and that'll allow Ayers, Dadka to take over 4th and 5th. And Duffy is the one who's going to pay for this as Balistrieri's back rolling again, but Duffy is stuck. He might just have to wait here as everybody else comes through, so he's going to slide back. Marcadegas, Moore, Yerxa, Eskridge, Garrel, Klassen. Duffy still stuck on the inside and finally waiting for his spot to jump out, and just about comes out in front of Jeff Williams, but Duffy finally going, but now back in 15th. Podium is dead now, I think, for the 924.
It's pretty much so, but we still have to remember pit stop cycles as well. So if Chris Duffy can plan it out right, he can maybe use a pit stop cycle to where it could help propel him up back at least into the top 10. So we'll have to keep track and see how his night will continue to go as we are approaching the 22-minute mark.
It's an interesting question. He will get the black flag, though, for the contact with Balistrieri. So insult to injury, I suppose, for Duffy, per the rule book there. And now you look at that 4th, 5th place battle of Ayers and Dadka. That, in particular, becomes very fun. Balistrieri now clear Marcadegas, and then Bob Moore and Peter Yerxa there, as Geralt has indeed cleared Ken Eskridge. So Eskridge continuing to slide back, and Moore and Yerxa might be the best battle, as Yerxa's shown some pace as of late. He was the 212s. Only other drivers in that ballpark. Last lap by your 2 leaders, Benet and Earl Lawrence.
And they're still battling hard here tonight at Suzuka. Currently, right now, the time separated is 2.6 seconds between those two drivers as they climb up the S's here and make their way up to the anti-bank curve. So a great battle for both these two drivers now, as they are the class of the fields.
The class of the field, all ahead of Arnie Klassen in 12th. I was waiting for that one, to be fair, but Klassen sort of the call it the back bookend of this group that stretches from, call it Marcadegas on, who has consistently led it. He's had challengers, but no one's actually been able to get near the 103 car over the course of this race. They've just all been sitting, all been waiting, and also a good group with Donald Binkley, Ryan McGee, Ronald Cahill, Paul Silk a little bit further back too. As we see some drivers coming in for pit stops the first time tonight towards the back of the field, and at the front, it's still Jensen Bidet out ahead of everybody else.
It certainly is, and pretty much right now there's no other major battles other than, of course, the battle between Randall Ayers and Mo Datka, and then, of course, the one we've been talking about from 7th on back between George Marcadegas, Bob Moore, Peter Yerxa, and pretty much everyone's just biding their time, waiting for the right opportunity to come down pit road to complete their pit stop cycle here tonight. But still great battling, great racing all throughout here at Suzuka.
Tight battling across the board once you clear Benet and Arts, who were there, but Benet and Arts, in a sense, doing what they need to do. Although Arts could make this difficult here if he gets the victory. If Arts can find a way to get past Jensen Bidet some way, somehow, then Benet would not be able to win the title outright with a victory. Benet, if he wins the next 2 races, championship is his, no matter what Earl Arts does. But he has to win both of these next 2 races, and even then he'd only win off the tiebreak. So it's a tight one. It's almost a case where if you're Benet, do you think about that pressure? Do you worry about that pressure? Do you want to know the situation during this race? Or do you just want to focus on trying to outright win it and letting the points handle themselves later?
I would say if he is able to win tonight, then he needs to definitely consider what he needs to do for next week's race at Daytona. As well as also keep in mind that his closest championship rival, Earl Arts Jr., is in 2nd. Now, if Earl were to have a mistake, whether it be on pit road or on track, that might be giving Jensen a little bit of a sigh of relief. But knowing Earl Arts Jr. of how consistent he's been all season long, it's very rare chance that we could see him make a mistake here at Suzuka.
As we have passed the halfway point of tonight's race, it's time for our second midway race break of the evening, which is brought to you by Leland West. Leland West was started by PCA member Holly Brownberg after he recognized the need for more affordable Porsche insurance. He found that over 11,000 PCA members shared his need, and since 1981, Leland West has offered its select automobile insurance program to PCA members across the United States. Working with collectible automobiles on a daily basis makes working at Leland West as fun as insurance can be. Following in Holly's footsteps, they know their enthusiasm and expertise helps make them the best choice for collectors and enthusiasts alike. Leland West, rest insured. Jensen Benet, your race leader out of the Lincoln Trail region of the PCA in the title fight 2. That's where his mind is at as he leads Earl Arts Jr., your points leader, by 4 seconds and change. Arts currently holding the second position, and these two well clear of third in this field. Julian Velez out of the northern New Jersey region, same region as our pro champion from Series 4. Very, very solid work from Velez to VP3. Randall Ayers runs in the 4th spot out of the Pacific Northwest region, northwest part of PCA. Both the Oregon and the Pacific Northwest regions having a very strong showing in these opening 2 races of the night. Mo Dodka runs in the 5th position out of the Chicago region of the PCA. He's the Team Haggerty member as well. Sebastiano Balistrieri holds the 6th spot. Another one of our Metro New Yorkers who has been very prolific over the course of Series 5. 7th in this race, also going to be a Metropolitan New Yorker of George Markadakis. Very solid work from him. A good run tonight for the 103 car. Bob Moore holds the 8th spot in the 772. Bob out of the Northeast region of the PCA. 9th is Orgun Garau, who will jump up just a little bit as looks like Rodanka is going to make pit stops, but Orgun on the Rally Sport region ahead of what would be, looks like Arne Klassen and Ken Eskridge, who now holds the 9th spot. So Eskridge out of the heart of Dixie to the 9th position, northern Alabama there, and then Arne Klassen out of the San Diego region up to 10th.
Currently sitting in the 11th position is the 517 of Jeff Williams, having a great run tonight. Moving back to 12th position, you'll find the 006 of Al Sadouk. Al Sadouk from the Eastern Buckeye region sits in the 10th position in points. 13th, you'll find Michael Masters from my home region, the Space Coast region, sitting in 13th. Mo Dodka has dropped back to 14th in the number 14, of course, from the Chicago region. Sitting back in 15th position is the 02 of Donald Binkley, as he is from the Music Stock region. Ryan McGee is sitting in 16th position in the 944, followed by Ronald Cahill from the Northeast region in 17th. Peter Yerxa in the 54 sits in 18th as he's from the Down East region, followed by Stuart Nelson in 19th. Rounding out your top 20, Brandon Jadette.
21st in this field, Robert Walton out of the Maverick region. Dallas-Fort Worth is where he calls home. 22nd in this race with the Wild Paint Job and Rusty Pruden out of the Central Indiana region. Indianapolis would be where you're looking for on the map if you want to find his stomping grounds. 23rd in this race, Brian Granger of the California Central Coast region, holding down 23rd ahead of Antonio Da Silva, who has the 24 car in 24th. Another Metropolitan New Yorker is he. 25th in this race is Dean Chapman, another Northern New Jersey region driver, and a strong run for him tonight. Chip Witt holds the 26th position. He runs in the Redwood region. 27th is eventually where Chris Duffy landed. He's got 2 pit stops here, or rather 1 pit stop lined up here and set up. Carl Bucchieri is the last car on the lead lap out of the Metro New York region. Teammate to George Markadakis, but he runs in 28th. The first car will not down. David Centel in 29th, another Harder Dixie driver, and Paul Solk in the 787 is the final car in the top 30 of the Jersey Shore region.
31st will go to the 907 of William Mungui, who started all the way back outside the top 35. He is currently 1 lap down. 32nd, you'll find the 30 of Sam Yao, who's currently also running 1 lap down, trying to make a good finish here tonight. James Bernard in the 32 also sits 1 lap down in 33rd, followed by Nicholas Kalani in 34th. Gregory Sampson in that number 91 Porsche, he's sitting in the 35th position. And the next few cars are currently out of tonight's race. In 36, you'll find Kurt Clifford. Theo Elias Nikolai will be in 37th. Lonray Sarumi, one of the strong contenders. He's from the Chicago region. He'll finish 38th tonight. And Andreas Castella rounds out your 39-car field.
And that concludes your full field rundown at the Midway Race Break, courtesy of our friends at Leland West. Rest insured. As this challenge class race rolls into the final 13 minutes or so, we'll also remind you that tonight's race is brought to you by our friends at Z1 Analytics, home of the Z1 Dashboard, the racing analytics application. The Z1 Dashboard shows everything you'll need to know about your position on track, your competitors' positions, and where you'll be after pit stops. The Z1 Dashboard can also tell you where your competition is, when you should pit, how much fuel you should take, and what the weather is like. You can assign up to 10 different dashboards to each car and switch between them with a click of a button, so the required information is always at your fingertips. The latest version has just been released and includes even more dashboards, and the ability to use your iPhone, iPad, Android phone, or tablet, or any other device with a web browser as a display. To find out more about the Z1 Dashboard, visit them at z1dashboard.com. As always, they're offering a free sim racing software package to one PCA sim racing EDE student each and every Friday night. And tonight's winner is Robert Rhodes from the Shenandoah region in the PCA Challenge class. The PCA Sim Racing EDE program provides free sim racing coaching from novices turning their first lap to the most seasoned of professionals. Sign up for the EDE program at pcasimracing.com/EDE, and you might win this software. We return back to your race coverage. You've not missed a thing at the front. Jensen Benet still your leader now by 6.1 seconds over Earl Arts Jr. And then it's Julian Velez riding in the third spot, some 22 seconds back. And good battle here. We'll see how the pit stops shake things up. Bob Moore has assumed the lead of what was the group that George Markadakis had been in control of. He's ahead of Argunga Ralph, and then just a mix of people here all over the place as we see some of the middle of the pack cycle through pit stops. Michael Masters is in. Ryan McGee is yet to come down for service, but you imagine he'll be in short order. And then you've got a group here at about 19th, 20th, 21st that have not come down, and then the top 10 have yet to pit. So it's all up in the air just a little bit. We're not totally settled as far as order goes, so we'll see how pit stops shake things up. But we'll keep our eyes, especially from Suzuka on up, your top 10. That's really the group you want to pay attention to.
Certainly indeed. Currently the highest pitter right now is Mo Datka in the 11th position. He's currently about 7 seconds back from Al Sadouk right now, so we'll have to keep an eye and see what he is able to accomplish as he is working his way up to catch up to the top 10. And as soon as that top 10 cycle starts to go through, we should be seeing a little bit more closer battles. But right now, looking to the field, one of the closer battles has to be between Bob Moore and Oregon Gerlach as they come down the back straightaway. Gerlach looks to the inside of Bob Moore as they head up to the 130R. Will he make the pass, or will he take it easy through this corner right here? They're going to go side by side. Who will be the bravest of the two? Gerlach moves up to 6th position. Bob Moore drops back to 7th.
The trick there, the difference between Chris Duffy and Julian Velez earlier, is that Geralp was able to get his nose ahead of Moore's before they hit the apex of the corner. That's usually how you determine who gets to take the spot out of 130R, which defaults to classic rules, and maybe not a surprise then that Bob Moore immediately responds by coming down pit road for service. So he'll come in, and it will be Ayers and Balistrieri just ahead of him that also come down pit road for service. So that trio in 4 stops amongst top 10 drivers. And next on the list then would be Arne Klaassen in the 242.
Well, another driver who came down pit road is the car that ran in second all night long, Earl Arts Jr. He has made his pit stop and is back out on the racetrack, and he's about 6 seconds back from Julian Velez. So we'll see if Jensen Benet will respond to come down pit road to get the needed requirements he needs to finish out this race. He is just now coming out of Spoon, so we'll have to keep track and see what that 7-1-18 does.
Benet and the Velez now your top 2 as Arts has made his stop, and it was quick too. 5.8 seconds in the actual bunch for the 61, which is very, very good. The problem is that even if you have an excellent stop like he had, to gain 6 seconds is a tall order and a tough task on pit road. It's something that you're going to have to get back through some sort of pace on track. And so now we'll keep an eye on Benet to see if he comes down pit road this time, which he will do. Race leader in with just under 10 minutes to go.
Now can he be able to make the faster pit stop compared to Earl Arts Jr. in order to pull away and have a shot at taking home the checker flag here at Suzuka? He's having to put the pit limiter on, get to his pit box as he's waiting to get there. We'll see how quick of a stop he will have here tonight.
So Jensen Benet into the box now. We'll see the timer go up on his car. We'll keep an eye on how long it takes him to finish off his pit stop. It's going to be slower than Earl Lawrence Jr. by about a second, but not by much. We'll see where Arts pops in and all this. Not even close. It's an easy one there for Earl Arts Jr., who tried and tried, but could not finish it off, and he is well behind Jensen Benet. It's a 7.5 second gap from the 718 to the 61 as Arts tries to slide it through the corner and get the most out of it, but there's no catching the 718. This is now officially Benet's race to lose in the final 8 minutes.
We'll have to see what he's able to do now as he makes the climb up through the S's, through Snake now, and he is definitely just needs to hit his marks and continue on his way as we have approached 8 minutes left to go on the clock. Will Jensen Benet continue his streak here in the PCA Sim Racing Club or Sportsman class as he now comes out of Degner 2?
So he comes out of Degner. Benet in great shape. And those pit stops have also served to break up all the battles, save for Dadka and Balastrieri, who take over 7th and 8th ahead of George Markadakis with that early pit stop.
It is interesting to see what we can see for these rest of the field as Organ Gerlap has yet to pit. Will he try to go as late as possible to see if he can build up a little bit of a gap between him and Velez for a top 3 finish? It's going to be a tall order for that 34 Porsche to make it work, but he's going to try. Another driver to keep an eye on is the 517 of Jeff Williams, who has yet to pit as well.
We figure Ralph Williams and Ryan McGee, currently sitting in 10th, would all fade just a bit. They all would drop back ever so slightly, and then it would move Velez back up to 3rd. It would move Ayers back up to 4th, Dadka to 5th, and then you look for good battles across the field and across the board. But a lot of separation amongst those pit stops now. Dadka and Balastrieri are the closest battle on track by a good margin now.
It is a tight battle indeed. I'm keeping an eye, though, on Jensen Benet. He has approached lap traffic. I want to keep an eye to see if he makes it through cleanly. So far, yes, as they give way to our race leader. But still, going back to that battle between Mo Dadka, Sebastian, and Balassieri is still a tight battle. As there's a car that is spinning right in front of them, they have to check up and give way as they work their way out of Spoon down the back straightaway.
Dadka Balastrieri might be the featured battle at the end of this race, but Benet is still king of this event. As we work into the final 6 minutes now, it's maybe just a little bit tighter between Benet and Arts. It's down to 7.2 seconds, but still very sizable gap and manageable one for Benet to even coast just a bit. And especially when I look at Arts, biggest thing I notice on his car, especially through the S's, he is using every bit of the throttle that he can to rotate that car through corner center, which is quicker for sure, but also opens you up if you mess it up to spinning the tires, which is something else that I think these two drivers are going to have to be.
He's picked up another 10th by doing that now, dropped it back a 10th now, so he is definitely trying to find that needed grip, so he is struggling just a little bit as he works his way through the track here, works his way around some lap traffic, so we'll have to see what he can accomplish. And same thing with Benet. He's having to deal with some lap traffic. Thankfully, the drivers out there ahead of him that are going to be put a lap down are giving way, working with him and not making it difficult for him to work his way around these drivers, which is helping out Jensen Benet's lead grow ever more slightly.
Definitely all noteworthy points there as we continue to look around this group. George Markadakis has actually climbed back into the fight with a good lap on Orgunga Ralph, who ran a 2:20 that last time by. Slow lap for the 34. Markadakis beginning to charge his way back into this, so that could be a good battle for 7th before we're done with the second race of the evening.
It certainly could be, as well as we could see George Markadakis, Organ Gerlap battling it out here for the 7th position. Markadakis trying to see if he can close the ground when they get up to the hairpin, but he's not close enough to make anything work right now at this time. As they come out of the hairpin, heading down the 220R, there we see Gerlap pull away from George Markadakis.
So Gerlap getting a good run off the corner, doing a nice job and just shuffling around this brilliant Suzuka for the final 5 minutes or so, and you look at Jensen Bidet on your screens. No challenge whatsoever tonight, but for him, this is a different battle. This is the points battle that I don't know if anybody else in this field could provide a challenge to Earl Arts on. If not for Bidet, this would be over and Arts', but Bidet winning to keep himself in the title fight.
It's certainly going to help Jensen Binet's cause for a championship here tonight very quickly if he's able to keep it on the pavement and take home the checker flag here tonight at Suzuka. And that means we will have to go to Daytona before we can crown a champion here. This class, the sportsman class, has been far the most action-packed and the most drama-filled when it comes to the points championship. It's now going to come down to one race for these drivers to crown a sportsman champion.
Going to be very intriguing, to say the least, as we keep our eyes on what we can expect from Bidet and Earl Arts over the course of the next week or so, if we include what we're seeing here in the final 3 minutes here. So potentially a lap or two left for Bidet at best.
Potentially, as well, as we are we just crossed the half 3 minute mark here as we are closing in on the final few laps here. Can Jensen Bidet be able to keep it clean and green for him as he works around lap traffic? Can Earl Arts Jr. get around lap traffic quickly to gain the time? It's going to be a tall order. He's going to have some help from lap traffic and a mistake from Jensen Bidet in order for Earl Arts Jr. to have a shot at taking home the checkered flag here tonight. Looking around the field right now, still the closest battle out there on the track have to be Modatka as well as Randall Ayers and Sebastiano Ballestieri.
Good battles all around. Danka is in the mix. Balestrieri is in the mix there too. Also, Duke and Michael Masters also having a good battle in 11th and 12th.
And don't forget Jeff Williams and Peter Yerxa as well for 14th and 15th. Those drivers are having a great battle as well in the closing minutes.
Impressive stuff all the way around from this field of drivers, and everybody just trying to keep their wits about them over the course of these final few minutes and make sure that we don't have too much wildness. As Randall Ayers, Danka, and Balestrieri, I think, is going to be the best group in this final lap to watch.
Certainly is. We'll have to keep an eye and watch that as we see our race leader coming close to completing the final lap. He's got one more circuit to do, including the one he is currently on. So we should see the white flag this time around for the 718 of Jensen Bidet.
Bidet all in command on this, and yes, one more lap you would think to go for Jensen Bidet in the 718 machine. He's got this all wrapped up if he doesn't make a mistake, but we've seen wilder things happen before in PCA sim racing. Meanwhile, how about Danka with a big block on Balestrieri entering 1 and 2 that last time by?
He definitely threw the block, shut the door in front of Sebastiano as they climb the S's. Through Snake they will go. He is trying to see if he can break into 4th position ahead of Randall Ayers before we see the checkered flag here tonight, but can't quite get close enough to the inside of the 83 of Randall Ayers as they go through the anti-bank curve and up the Dunlop curve they will go as they continue to climb the hill.
They work the hill here at Suzuka up towards the Denver curves that leads you under the bridge here, this famous circuit, and one of the oldest Grand Prix outside of Europe, if not the, I think Brazil might be the only other one that's got this kind of principle. Brazil and Australia, I think, are two on that list.
Either way, all those circuits provide some great racing action. Of course, we see Jensen Bidet heading up to the Casio Triangle for the second to last time.
Or what could be the last
lap.
He's right on it, and I think, yes, indeed, that is all for Jensen Bidet, who came to Suzuka and did what he needed to do. It is Jensen Bidet winning at Suzuka in round 7 of Series 5, and we will have a points battle to take to Daytona.
Now let's go a little further back to that battle for fourth position between Randall Ayers, Mo Datka, Sebastiano Ballestieri. Those three cars are under a blanket as they go down the back straightaway, heading to the 130R. Ayers has about a 6/10 of a lead over Mo Datka as they make that corner easily. Here comes Sebastiano Ballestieri. Will he try to outbrake Mo Datka into the Casio Triangle? Can't get close enough. He'll go to the outside, but can't quite make it work. I think it's safe to say Randall Ayers, unless he messes up in the last curve and loses momentum, will take fourth position. Here they come out of the last curve for the final time down the front straightaway. Datka can't get the draft. He will not get the position. Randall Ayers will come home P4.
Believe that's the season's best finish for Randall Ayers in that 83 car, and I think the same goes for Datka and Ballestieri and Julia Velez too, who gets a podium out of it and finishes P3. Next best battle on the track, Peter Yerxa trying to hold off Jeff Williams. Everybody else pretty well spaced out amongst this bunch.
Yeah, let's see what happens as they go into the Casio Triangle for the final time. Williams laid into the braking zone to see if he can gain some ground on Yerxa. Will not make it work, but he's dropped it to about a 2-car length. But here comes Peter Yerxa out of the final curve and has pulled the gap. He will come home in 13th.
Chris Duffy with the big send to make contact with Brian Granger on the last lap and try and take the spot. So Duffy not having a good night at Suzuka, to say the least, but he'll climb in right behind Granger, and not really any harm or foul on that one. They were both well behind Ryan McGee, but a tough night for Chris Duffy, who comes home in 17th behind Granger, who finishes in 16th.
Not what he needed to help his points championship. So it's going to now be, instead of a 3-man race, a 2-man race for the championship at Daytona next week.
Benet Arts, Benet Arts, Benet Arts for the title at Daytona next Friday night. You won't want to miss the Sport Class race presented by Leland West Insurance. Promise you that. So we find out who ends up being the class champion in Series 5 next Friday night at Daytona. But before we get to next Friday night, first, time to bring you the results for tonight's race in the Sport Class at Suzuka. Jensen Benet ahead of Earl Arch Jr. by 8.4 seconds at the end of it. Julian Velez was third this evening, fourth to the 83 of Randall Ayers. Mo Datka finishes in the 5th position. 6th was the 516 of Sebastiano Ballestieri. Orgun Garalp was 7th. George Markadakis finished in the 8th position. 9th was the 18 of Ken Eskridge. Arnie Klassen in the 242 finished in 10th.
Al Sadouk will be coming home in 11th after starting 22nd, so a great run for him for night. Michael Masters, a big loss for him, started 3rd. He'll come home in 12th. Peter Yerxa will come home in 13th, followed by Jeff Williams in 14th. Ryan McGee climbed up from 23rd to finish in the 15th position, followed by Brian Granger in 16th. 17th will go to Mr. Rubber Duffy, Chris Duffy in 17th position, followed by Bob Moore in 18th. 19th from 30th position, Ronald Cahill, and then from 34th position, rounding out your top 20, Robert Walton.
21st this evening was Brandon Jadot. Paul Soap finished in 22nd. Stuart Nelson finished in the 23rd position, and 24th was Antonio da Silva. Rusty Pruden finished in 25th. 26th was Chip Witt. Will Munguia was 27th. Donald Binkley 28th. Carl Bocchiere 29th, and James Bernard 30th.
31st position will be Sam Yao, followed by Dean Chapman in 32nd. 33rd will go to Davis Centel, 2 laps down, followed by Gregory Sampson in 34th. 35th will go to Nicholas Kalani, followed by Kurt Clifford in 36th. 37th will go to Theodius Nicolai, Lonray Surumi in 38th. 39th will go to Andreas Castella.
Jensen Benet, your race winner. As we conclude our full field rundown, we turn our attention to Benet now, who joins us up in the booth, and we take our eyes up and we'll see what happens here as Jensen Benet will get set to bring us all of his perspective from all of the action we had here in the Sport Class race. And Jensen, I think biggest question, were you aware of the point situation coming into tonight? And did you know what you had to do when you took the green flag?
Oh yeah, the point situation has been eluding me this whole week. And knowing how consistent he is, and knowing his off week and last race at Watkins Glen, that usually isn't Earl, and that this race comes to show that Earl is here to compete and he's here to fight for the championship.
So now then you know what we have next week. If you two go 1-2 next week, you're tied on points at the end, and then it's up to the tiebreakers. So, any pressure?
Well, it depends. Like, if I'm correct, I looked at the rules. I think the rules state that the tiebreaker is the person who has the most wins. And I think that's me because I have 5 wins this season, including 4 straight. So basically, I'm gonna have to be counting my stars though, because I'm gonna have to really be practicing Daytona. I'm not really looking forward to it too much, but I am looking forward to it. It'd be really interesting.
What's the excitement like coming to Daytona? There's obviously the nerves of competing for a class title, but I think there has to be some positive energy just around the fact that you're in the tightest points battle in the whole of PCA Sim Racing in Series 5. And that will be the headline show coming into next Friday night. A little pride, maybe honor, maybe excitement at being a part of that, I guess?
Yeah, it's really exciting. Earl's a great competitor. He's a class act, and basically, he's just been up there all year long. He's always been at the front. He's always shown his pace, shown his consistency. I've had a bit of miscues in races 1 and 3 where I got penalized for getting cut off, and I also, race 3, got involved in that incident when someone hit the grass. But ever since then, it's kind of been smooth sailing. Hopefully, we can keep it that way to have a legitimate title fight for Daytona.
I know there are plenty of people you need to thank, so go ahead, Jensen, and let us know who you need to send the shout-outs to.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Michael Matthews from Lincoln Trail for watching and rooting for me and my brother tonight. It's really great to have him on board, and some of my friends, like one of them from work and a few other ones on friends of mine on Snapchat, watched the race, and hello to them, and this win's for them. And I want to thank, of course, my parents, my mom, my dad. And I also want to thank my brother who's in the club race tonight.
Jensen, on behalf of everyone at PCA Sim Racing and Podium Esports, congratulations on your victory, and we look forward to seeing how this incredible fight for the Sport Class title concludes at Daytona next Friday night.
Thanks, you too.
Jensen Benet, your race winner from Suzuka. We're halfway through this evening's program, and for those on YouTube, it is now that time to drop out of full screen. Click the bottom on the bottom left. Go back to the main page of the PCA Sim Racing channel. The Club Class video presented by Michelin is where you need to head next. That'll be where our third race of this evening can be seen as Podium Esports coverage of Round 7 of Series 5 of PCA Sim Racing from Suzuka continues in a few moments.